Welcome back to the library. Today our tale takes us into the depths of World of Warcraft's history as we answer the question, who are the forgotten race of the Tol'vir? In the ancient desert known as Uldum, located on the southern coast of Kalimdor, we find the stone cat people known as the Tol'vir. These beings, with their feline lower bodies and heads, and human torsos, were originally stone constructs, created by the Titans millennia ago to protect their structures and their artifacts. Like their distant cousins the Stone Trogs and the Earthen, the mysterious race of the Tol'vir faced the sands of time, dealing with centuries of trials and tribulations that would go on to cause the race to undergo significant change. Those tales and those changes are what we are about to explore in this very narrative. The tale of the Tol'vir stretches back to the dawn of time on Azeroth. Over 150,000 years ago, the old gods arrived and began spreading their influence across the planet. In response, the Titan Pantheon, a group of titans who shaped and ordered worlds, discovered Azeroth in this perilous state and created the Titan Forged. These armies, made from Azeroth's crust, were created to combat the Black Empire of the old gods. The Pantheon endowed some of their servants with specific traits and powers and were given the responsibility of leading the Titan Forged. These enhanced beings, known as the Keepers, led the Titan Forged in the war against the Black Empire. This conflict eventually resulted in the death of the most powerful old god, Yar-Sharaj. The remaining old gods, including the formidable god of death, Yogg-Saron, and the master corruptor, N'Zoth, were imprisoned, with Yogg-Saron being confined within the halls of the Titan structure known as Ulduar. Preserved in the snows of the Storm Peaks, Ulduar would become the largest Titan-forged complex on Azeroth. In Ulduar, the Keepers constructed two great forges to nurture life on Azeroth. After the Old Gods' defeat, Mimiron and Arcadus built the Forge of Wills and its twin, the Forge of Origination. These forges were intended to infuse Azeroth's dormant world soul with cosmic energies. The Forge of Origination served a dual purpose. It regulated the rhythms of the planet and fortified the world soul's form. However, if the planet became corrupted, the Forge would be capable of eradicating all life, allowing the world to start anew. The Forge of Wills would shape the world soul's sentience and had the power to draw on Azeroth's life essence to create sentient beings. It was from here that the more well-known Titan Forged were born. The initial designs were too complex, leading to the creation of malformed beings like the Stone Trogs. After learning from their experience with the Stone Trogs, the Keepers went on to create more intelligent and refined Titan Forged beings, such as the Earthen, the Mogu, the Anubisaths, and the Tol'vir, who are of course central to our story today. These origins place the Tol'vir among some of the oldest races across Azeroth. Like the Anubisaths and the Mogu, many of the Tol'vir accompanied High Keeper Ra when he travelled south from Ulduar to install the second Titan Forge, the Forge of Origination, in the jungles of Uldum. After embedding the forge in the land, Ra assigned the Tol'vir and some Anubisaths to watch over the area as he and his followers continued west to establish a new Titan research facility in the lands we now know today as Silithus. One day, as the Keepers were working on Azeroth, they suddenly experienced a powerful influx of energy and a surge of fragmented memories. Confused, they sent a message to the Pantheon, seeking an explanation, but they received no response. After a long time, Ra realized that this was not simply an anomaly, but the final remnants of the Pantheon spirits, following the betrayal and massacre by Sargeras. Struggling to accept the perceived Pantheon's demise, the High Keeper carefully extracted the lingering power of Aman'Thul and stored it in a mountain vault near the Vale of Eternal Blossoms. Overcome with depression, Ra retreated into the catacombs beneath the land to meditate. He abandoned his task of protecting the planet, leaving his Titan-forged servants to continue their work alone. When Ra vanished, most of the now leaderless Tol'vir congregated around Uldum and began developing their own culture completely separate from that of their northern brethren. In the time period set over 15,000 years ago, one of the Keepers, Loken, had an affair with Sif, the wife of his Titan Keeper brother, Thorim. From his prison within Ulduar, Yogg-Saron saw this vulnerability and took advantage of his jailers by manipulating Loken's thoughts, causing him to lash out at Sif in fear of losing her, and in the process, accidentally killing her. Horrified by his actions, but too frightened to confess the truth to Thorim, Loken deceived him into believing that Arngrim, the king of the Frost Giants, was responsible. turning Thorim against his allies. To stop the ensuing war between Thorim's and Angrim's forces, Loken deployed an army he had created within the Forge of Wills. However, unbeknownst to Loken, Yogg-Saron had planted the Curse of Flesh within the Forge. The Curse of Flesh would transform any Titan-forged being created by the Forge of Wills from their sturdy stone form into a mortal being of skin and flesh. The curse was so potent it even had the ability to spread to the earlier generations of Titanforged. When Loken's agents travelled south in search for the missing Keeper Ra, they inadvertently afflicted the Tol'vir with the Curse of Flesh. These events meant that the Tol'vir would not be spared from this dreadful fate, and like their cousins, the Earthen, the Vrykul, the Mogu, the Mechanomes, large numbers of the Tol'vir would transform into mortal beings. While many of the Tol'vir in Uldum succumbed to the Curse of Flesh, those who remained in the north guarding the Titan complex of Ulduar faced a different but equally disturbing fate. Around the same time as the Curse of Flesh, a war erupted across Azeroth between the resurgent insectoid Azj-Arkeer Empire and the newly formed Empire of Zul, a coalition of the most powerful troll tribes. These two races fiercely battled for dominance over the ancient continent of Old Kalimdor during the Arkeer and Troll War. More information about this war can be found in our tale of the Stranglethorn Vale. A safe portal is in the description below. Following the initial attack on the Troll Empires by the Arkeer, the Trolls, led by the Zandalari, managed to halt the Arkeer offensive and began driving them back. Determined to destroy these insectoids completely, each troll tribe started hunting down and eliminating Arkeer colonies. Many tribes ventured to different parts of the continent for this purpose, and the Drakari tribe travelled to the freezing north, where they encountered a large Arkeer colony and formidable beings known as the Obsidian Destroyers. These entities were actually enslaved stone Tol'vir. After the Troll Empires divided the insectoid kingdom of the Arkeer, those Arkeer who travelled north discovered and overthrew the Tol'vir residing in a Titan facility in Northrend. Despite their ferocious strength, the Drakari managed to defeat the Obsidian Destroyers and their Arkeer masters. The Northern Arkeer, who survived the war, eventually evolved into a new race known as the Nerubians, who began adopting the Tol'vir's architecture for their own purposes. Although the Scourge would later consume the Nerubian Empire and force its remaining Tol'vir slaves into their ranks, it is possible that more Tol'vir still exist deep within the remnants of Azul-Nerub. Some of the surviving Arkeer and Obsidian Destroyers travelled south, where they ransacked and overthrew a Titan research station near Uldum. They renamed themselves the Karaji and called their new home Ahn'Qiraj. This is why adventurers later reported encountering these stone creatures when raiding the temple of Ahn'Qiraj thousands of years later. Our story of the Tol'vir now must take a turn and briefly touch on the tales of the Thunder King. 15,000 years ago, in the southern reaches of the ancient continent of Old Kalimdor, the Mogu grew frustrated after their master, Ra-Den, fell silent and their bodies were turned into flesh and blood by the Curse of Flesh. After 1,000 years without orders from their master, the Mogu began to argue and splinter into warrior clans. During this time, a young Mogu warlord named Lei Shen began to rise through the ranks. Born the son of a warlord during the age of 100 kings, Lei Shen went into exile after his father was murdered in an act of betrayal. He spent years meditating and aimlessly wandering the land. Most Mogu saw Lei Shen's meditations as a sign of madness, believing he would never pose a threat to the Mogu. Years later, Lei Shen had matured and was commanding his own legions. He announced that his ambitions surpassed those of an average Mogu warlord. Instead of seeking mere conquest, Lei Shen desired something greater. He wanted to awaken the gods. After years of searching, he discovered the entrance to a hidden vault beneath the lands north of the Vale of Eternal Blossoms. There, he found the Titanic Watcher Ra, who stood guard over a powerful Titan device, the engine of Nalak-Shar. The High Keeper showed no reaction upon seeing Lei Shen, even as the Mogu questioned him about their purpose. Weeks passed and Lei Shen grew increasingly frustrated, but Ra remained silent. When Lei Shen realized that Ra was not contemplating some grand plan but had simply lost all hope, he unleashed his anger on the Keeper, accusing him of abandoning the work of the Titans. These harsh words finally roused Ra from his stupor, and the High Keeper brought Lei Shen to the nearby Thundering Mountain. It was here that Ra-Den summoned the lingering spirit of Aman'Thul, High Father of the Pantheon. The revelation that the Titans of the Pantheon were dead did not cause Lei Shen to fall into despair like Ra had. Instead, the Mogu decided that if the Pantheon were dead and their servant refused to continue their work, he would do so himself. Without warning, Lei Shen incapacitated Ra, bound him in great chains, and stole not only Ra's power, but also the power of Aman'Thul. It is said that the Mogu tore out the very heart of their god, and from this hateful act, Lei Shen gained power over the wind and the storm. Meanwhile, the Tol'vir of Uldum continued enduring the ravages of the Curse of Flesh, patiently awaiting instructions from the Keeper Ra or his Mogu followers in the east. Eventually, they received word from a new Mogu leader known as Lei Shen, now going by the Thunder King, and in response, they dispatched ambassadors to the east. Lei Shen showcased to them the wonders of his new empire, which had risen unnoticed by the Western Titanforged. When he announced that he had defeated the Keeper Ra in battle and intended to claim the Forge of Origination for himself, the Tol'vir were outraged. They refused the Thunder King's offer of a place of honor in his empire in exchange for their service, and they returned to Uldum. Confident that his armies could easily claim the stronghold, Lei Shen marched west, inviting many of his Zandalari allies to join him in his impending victory. However, the Tol'vir, knowing they could not face the Mogu head-on, devised a daring plan to use the Forge of Origination against the Thunder King. They knew that using the weapon to its full potential would wipe out all life on the planet, so they configured it to scour only the nearby land. As the Mogu came ever closer to Uldum, the Tol'vir activated the forge. Waves of energy erupted, bathing the surrounding area in the powers of uncreation, and instantly killed Lei Shen. The forge also wiped out his entire army and even a small number of Tol'vir defenders who had remained outside the stronghold as a distraction. The energy pulsating from the forge was so strong that it also devastated the surrounding lands, transforming Uldum into a barren desert. The surviving Tol'vir then worked with the ancient Titan devices to ensure that no one would ever attempt to claim Uldum again, shrouding the mountain passes leading into the region with magic and sealing the land off from the eyes of mortals, an illusion that would remain in place for thousands of years to come. The Tol'vir, concealed by this magical illusion over the region of Uldum, continued to protect the Forge of Origination for years to come. All the combat protocols programmed into their ancestors by the Titans still remained, with some embedded into their instincts and others passed down as traditions. For thousands of years, the Tol'vir upheld this duty, but during that time they also began establishing their own cultures and cities within the region. The Tol'vir had split into tribes, named after the cities they inhabited. Some of the tribes that existed during this period were the Ram Kahen, the Orsis, and the Nephesed, and we will dive deeper into these individual tribes later on in the tale. Tol'vir tribes are led by their kings and operate under a monarchical system of government. When a king passes on, the oldest living heir takes the throne, and so on. High-ranking members of the Tol'vir society, such as generals, kings, and high priests, all wear headpieces shaped like rams or birds to display their importance. It is known that the Tol'vir revere the Titans and their guardians, so these designs of their dress may honour the Titan Guardians. The Tol'vir have many sacred areas around Uldum. While the primary religion and beliefs of the creatures, it is clear that the sun and the light are extremely important to them. The Sun Priests, wielders of solar magic, are an ancient order respected among all Tol'vir tribes and are held in extremely high regard. During these ancient times, one member of Tol'vir society gained fame for his craftsmanship. The weaponsmith, Amathet, known for tirelessly arming his fellow Tol'vir with fine instruments, is remembered as one of the greatest minds to ever have lived in Uldum. On one occasion, he bound 4 powerful air elemental Jinn lords from Skywall within a set of scimitar blades. These weapons became highly coveted among Tol'vir warriors, and messengers from other Tol'vir outposts came to beg for more of his wonders. Ayamat's next creation was a pair of fist weapons intended to hold the power of the elemental lord of air himself, Alakia. However, Alakia set a trap for the weaponsmith. When Ayamat tried to wield his new weapons, they unleashed a great hurricane that destroyed both Ayamat and the city of Amtul, hurling the weapons miles away. Those who attempted to recover the fists met a similar fate, destroyed by their immense power. To prevent anyone from repeating Ayamat's folly, the Tol'vir decided to bury the weapons in the desert. Years passed, and the Tol'vir became blissfully unaware of the events occurring around them. As generations went by, they began to forget about the outside world, and in turn, the world started to forget about them. While the creatures and people of Azeroth faced the Burning Legion during the War of the Ancients, the Tol'vir remained hidden. Even in the aftermath of that war, as Old Kalimdor shattered into fragments during the Great Sundering, the strength of the Titan device persisted, keeping Uldum hidden from everyone else. The Tol'vir stayed secluded under their titanic illusion for thousands of years, hidden during the 3 great wars across Azeroth and during the adventures to the Outland and Northrend. They remained in this hidden state until the unthinkable happened, exactly 28 years after the events at the Dark Portal in the Eastern Kingdoms. And that unthinkable event, the return of Deathwing the Destroyer. The Black Dragon's return triggered the Cataclysm, which destroyed the ancient Titan device concealing Uldum. This catastrophic event revealed Uldum's wonders to the world, making it completely accessible to anyone and everyone. As Deathwing returned, he sought out various forces and races of Azeroth to aid in his master plan of domination and destruction, and he was not short of willing volunteers. And after all, many argue that Deathwing was one of the most powerful servants of the Old Gods to ever exist on Azeroth. During this time, the Old God, N'Zoth, commanded the Elemental Lord of Air, Alakia, to prepare for war against the mortals of Azeroth. Following Deathwing's destruction of the World Pillar in Deepholm and his violent re-emergence into Azeroth, the elemental plane collided with the physical realm. This caused significant geographical upheaval, allowing chaotic elements to pour into the world of Azeroth. In the wake of this newfound freedom, Alakia aligned himself with Deathwing. When Deathwing came to Uldum, he offered the Tol'vir a deal: join him, and he would utilize his new ally, Alakia, to reverse the curse of flesh, restoring them to their original stone forms. The Nephesed, led by Dark Pharaoh Tekan, overwhelmingly agreed to this bargain. However, Menrim, one of the Nephesed, tried to convince others that his alliance would leave them forever indebted to Alakia and Deathwing. The Nephesed, in their arrogance, believed they could overthrow their new allies and regain independence once their old forms were restored. And then, when the Tol'vir of Orsis refused Deathwing's offer, Alakia buried the city beneath the sands in a great windstorm. To the north of the now buried and lost city of Orsis, the 3rd Tol'vir tribe, the Ramkahen, were given the same choice, but they also refused. But they had already taken steps to ensure their safety after witnessing the aftermath of the attack on Orsis. Until these events, the tribes of Uldum had coexisted in relative peace. However, from this point onward, the 2 remaining tribes would wage war against each other. This Tol'vir civil war spread across the lands of Uldum, and by the time adventurers like you and I mobilized to aid in the fight against Deathwing and his forces, the Ramkahen had already gained the upper hand and were planning to invade and capture the enemy city of Nephesed. Despite having the upper hand, King Faris, the leader of the Ramkahen, was hesitant to make his final move against the Nephesed tribe, as his brother, Prince Nadun, had been kidnapped by their rivals. When adventurers first arrived in Uldum, they were sent to the lost city of the Tol'vir to free Prince Nadun. After a successful raid, they rescued the prince and returned to the king in the city of Ramkahen. With his brother back by his side, the king finalized his plans and marched on the city of Nephesed. During the assault, Dark Pharaoh Tekan, leader of the Nephesed tribe, was slain, and the remaining Nephesed were pushed back into the lost city. The adventurers of Azeroth, from both the Horde and the Alliance, were called upon once again to end this Tol'vir civil war. Inside the lost city, they encountered and defeated 2 more Nephesed leaders, General Hussam and High Prophet Barim. With these leaders slain, the remaining Nephesed fell into disarray and were easily picked off in a near massacre by the adventurers. By the end of the conflict, only 5 Nephesed tribe members remained. However, these remaining Nephesed were the least of their worries. The adventurers also encountered Siamat, the Lord of the South Wind, within the lost city's walls. He had been sent by Alakia at Deathwing's behest to cure the Nephesed of the curse of flesh in exchange for their loyalty. Exhausted from converting the Nephesed back into their stone forms, Siamat was betrayed and trapped within the tower at the centre of the lost city. The adventurers inadvertently freed Siamat when the high-ranking Nepheseds were killed. Siamat himself was then also defeated within the ruins of the tower that had imprisoned him. A few months after the raids in the lost city, the Ramkahen tracked down the remaining Nephset. The last 5 members, including Bartet, Menrim's brother, and Nantaret, were captured and put on trial. After showing no remorse for their crimes, they were sentenced to death, and they were executed by being crushed as they were stone Tol'vir. Following this, King Ferris declared victory over the Nephset, took over the Lost City, and became the undisputed king of the Tol'vir. After the event in the Lost City and the conclusion of the Tol'vir Civil War, the adventurers went on to defeat the forces within the Throne of the Four Winds, bringing Alakir's reign of terror over the region to an end. Following this, the dunes of Uldum fell silent once again, and the Ramkahen continued their peaceful existence under the reign of the undisputed king of the Tol'vir, King Ferris. However, this era of solitude would not last forever. 4 years later, as the war against the Legion raged across Azeroth, the Tol'vir, having barely involved themselves in the conflict, were forced to face the grim outcome of its final stages. After the fall of Argus the Unmaker in Antares, the Burning Throne, Sargeras lashed out at Azeroth, stabbing his sword into the planet and piercing its crust in the barren lands of Silithus. The aftermath of this act sent ripples across the land, causing the sands of Uldum to shift once again, revealing lost tombs hidden beneath the dunes. The tombs in question were the Amathet tombs beneath the Sunstone Terrace in the eastern corners of Uldum. From these newly discovered tombs emerged the Tol'vir of the forgotten Amathet Tribe. The Amathet prided themselves on protecting the works of the Titans and wielding solar magic. Buried beneath the sand in Uldum, the secluded Amathet Tribe had not suffered the fate brought upon the Tol'vir by the curse of flesh, and still existed in their powerful titanic stone state. This sense of superiority was so strong that they did not see anyone else as their equals. They speak little to other Tol'vir, considering them betrayers of their sacred duties. Believing their divine purpose was to become one with the Titans and purge the world of those who were corrupted. To fulfill their destiny, the Amathet needed the Forge of Origination. The Amathet Tribe viewed Azeroth as beyond saving and sought to use the Forge of Origination to end the Old God's corruption by purging all life on the planet through the use of the reply code Omega, a signal that Algalon the Observer could send to the Titans to initiate planetary re-origination. According to the Archivum Console of Ulduar, reply code Omega is one of the 2 possible signals following planetary diagnostics after Algalon's arrival. Planetary re-origination would result in the destruction of modern Azeroth and its reconstruction from raw materials, recreating the planet according to the original Titan blueprint. The Amathet Tribe began assaulting the halls of Origination and some surrounding areas of Uldum. This would result in bringing them into conflict with the Ramkahen, who understood the gravity of the situation. Another Tol'vir civil war broke out between the Ramkahen and the Amathet tribes as they both fought for control over the Forge of Origination. During this time, the formidable old god N'Zoth escaped from his imprisonment in the last prison located in the Eternal Palace. Once free, he began attempting to recreate the Black Empire, also seeking to control the Forge of Origination so the old god could use it to reshape Azeroth. When the Amathet launched an attack to claim the Forge, N'Zoth's minion, Shithrus the Manipulator, infiltrated their forces as Sun Prophet Tenharman. We won't delve further into the lore behind the Forge of Origination and the battle for the halls, as it is too extensive and not directly relevant to the story of the Tol'vir. However, it is important to note High Explorer Delora of the Explorers League discovered the Amathet's plans in time. With aid from adventurers and the Ramkahen, the Amathet's assault on the halls was ultimately thwarted. Simultaneously, as we just mentioned, N'Zoth's forces attempted to corrupt the Forge and use its re-origination device to overwrite reality, with Ny'alotha bringing back the Black Empire. The forces opposing N'Zoth, led by Magni Bronzebeard and Rathian, used the Forge, powered by the engine of Naluk-Shah, another Titan facility in Pandaria, to destroy N'Zoth for good by concentrating the re-origination device on him instead of the entire world. With the Forge of Origination now under the control of those protecting Azeroth, the Amathet defeated and the forces of the old god N'Zoth slain, peace was once again restored to the Tol'vir homelands of Uldum. To this day, and many years later, King Faris rules the land of Uldum from his throne in the city of Ramkehen, ensuring that the Forge of Origination remains uncorrupted by any forces seeking to destroy Azeroth. As we bring our journey through the ancient sands of Uldum to a close, we reflect on the remarkable history of the Tol'vir. These majestic beings, crafted by the Titans themselves, have endured countless trials and tribulations, from the devastating curse of flesh to brutal civil wars, and the harrowing encounters with Deathwing and Azeroth. The Tol'vir have stood resilient against every challenge they have had to face. Their story is one of perseverance, bravery, and an unwavering commitment to their sacred duties. Despite the ravages of time and the events that have shaken Azeroth, the Tol'vir have remained true to their purpose, protecting the powerful Forge of Origination and ensuring the safety of their homeland. King Faris and the Ramkehen tribe now watch over Uldum, a testament to the enduring spirit of the Tol'vir. As we admire their strength and honour their legacy, we are reminded of the profound impact they have had on the world of Azeroth. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of the Tol'vir's rich history. Until next time, adventurers, may your path be guided by the light of the Titans and the courage of the Tol'vir.